Good evening, everyone, and Happy New Year. Welcome to the January 9th Board of Trustees meeting. Will everyone please stand for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Engelberg.
Present.
Deputy Mayor Howell.
Present.
Trustee Taylor.
Present.
Trustee Cronin.
Present.
Present. And today we will begin with 3 appointments. The first one, I don't know if Christopher Mahoney is here. No? May I have a motion for the appointment of Christopher Mahoney to the position of motor equipment operator?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Congratulations to Christopher Mahoney. The second appointment, may I have a motion appointing John Sullivan to the position of administrative intern?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? And the third appointment, may I have a motion appointing John Reichel to the position of cleaner?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? And congratulations to John Sullivan and to John Reichel, who is here today. John, if you'd like to come up and say a few words, you can. You don't have to.
He said he's good.
Thank you, everybody, for doing this for me. I will do everything I can. Thank you.
Thank you. And Chief, would you like to say a few words?
Good evening, Mayor, members of the board. I just want to first thank the board, Mayor and the board, and our village administrator, David Burke, for making this appointment. John has worked as a seasonal worker for us for the last couple of years, as well as for the Department of Public Works, and helped out at the community center. And he's a good hire, one, because of his work ethic, his pride that he takes in his work, his attendance and punctuality. I mean, he's a model employee. But if you take all of that away and then you bring his personality into the mix, he comes with an infectious smile every single morning. You could be in midday, I could be having a miserable day, and he pops into the office with his personality and with his enthusiasm, and he makes you take a step back and say, things aren't so bad after all. So I want to congratulate John because he earned this appointment tonight, and I just want to say thank you to the board for seeing all of the worth that he has and what he has to bring to the table, and he does bring quite a bit, so congratulations.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Is there anyone on the board that would like to say a few words?
I would just like to say that on behalf of the board, John, I want to thank you for all of your hard work. Every time we ask, no matter what time of the day it is, no matter what he's doing, John is so helpful. He will come and bring us things and just do anything that we need. And so on behalf of everybody up here, I just want to thank you for being such a hard worker, and we're really excited for you.
Yep.
Yes.
And John, get your sneakers ready because now you're really locked into Tuckahoe Challenge.
Thank you, John. So following the appointments, we will have a special presentation for Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day. And I'd like to ask the students who are going to be doing that presentation to come forward now.
Hello, I am Sanvi Goindi. I am a proud resident of Tuckahoe. Today we are all gathered here to commemorate Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Martin Luther King Jr. was born on January 15, 1929 in Atlanta, Georgia, to Martin Luther King Sr. and Alberta Williams King. Did you know he was named Michael at birth? But when Martin Luther King Jr. was 5 years old, His father traveled to Germany and became inspired by the Protestant Reformation leader Martin Luther. As a result, not only did he change his name to Martin Luther, but his son's as well. Martin Luther King Jr. graduated from Booker T. Washington High School and at age 15 was admitted to Morehouse College in Atlanta. Morehouse College is the most famous historically black colleges and universities. Martin Luther King Jr. was an African American church leader and one of the most prominent leaders in the civil rights movement. He was assassinated on Thursday, April 4th, 1968, in Memphis on his balcony in the Lorraine Motel. And 15 months later, his younger brother, Alfred Daniel, passed away too. Martin Luther King Jr. also had an older sister, Christine King Fairest, who is still alive and a civil rights activist. Martin Luther King Jr.'s wife was Coretta Scott King, and he had 4 kids: Martin Luther King III, Yolanda King, Dexter King, and Bernice King. Did you know that Martin Luther King Jr. was arrested 29 times and that he survived an assassination attempt a decade before his death? Martin Luther King Jr. is the only person of color who has a national holiday named after him. In fact, there are just 2 people with named holidays in the United States presently: Martin Luther King Jr. and Christopher Columbus. And here's Andrew. He is going to talk about Martin Luther King Jr.'s biggest accomplishment. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Andrew Reichelt. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. made a necessary culture change in our country. He wrote every speech with passion and meaning behind it. When he talked, it was to get a message across, whether it was in front of the Lincoln Memorial with millions of Americans watching him, or if it was on toilet paper in the prison of Birmingham. In 1960, America was segregated, but the most segregated and racist state in the country was Alabama, and Birmingham was the worst of them all. Schools, bathrooms, communities were forced to live separate during this time. Redlining kept black and white neighborhoods apart, but they were far from equal. Just a few months after Dr. King released his letter from a Birmingham jail, there was a bombing at a local black church, killing 4 black children attending Sunday school, as well as wounding several others. Dr. King took action against this injustice. In 1963, he traveled there and peacefully protested in the streets. Despite not breaking any laws, the court ruled that Dr. King could not hold a protest in Birmingham, and a clear violation of the First Amendment. He was arrested and sentenced to 8 days in jail. There, he wrote from Birmingham jail to his fellow ministers, where he described the injustice that he saw. He calls to his fellow clergymen for the language they used, calling Dr. King's language unwise and untimely, and saw him as an outsider coming in. King's response to this by saying, "Anyone who lives in the U.S. can never be considered an outsider anywhere in the country. King doesn't believe in you and me, he believes in us." King calls out injustice he has faced from other religious leaders as unjust. King says, "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere." This powerful quote has been repeated and said millions of times. He talks of unity, of why everything needs to come together, and the importance of being one country. King understood that his fight wasn't against white men. It wasn't against any one man, but instead the stereotype and racist culture that was put in place. This is why he took action the way he did. Dr. King said, you may well ask, why direct action? Why sit-in, marches, and so forth? Isn't negotiation a better path? Indeed, this is the very purpose of direct action. Nonviolent direct action seeks to create such a crisis and foster such a tension that a community which has constantly refused to negotiate is forced to confront the issue. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Justin Smith. In 1983, Martin Luther King's birthday was officially designated as a federal holiday, passed by Congress under President Ronald Reagan. It is celebrated each year on the first Monday after January 15th. King is remembered for many deeds of bravery in the cause of equal justice for all Americans. Most importantly, he is celebrated for the way in which he delivered his thoughts and carried out his missions. MLK's I Have a Dream speech is recognized as one of the second greatest speeches delivered by an American. The other speech was the Gettysburg Address delivered by Abraham Lincoln in 1863 and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. King's thought, writing, and actions were inspired by his religious background as a Baptist minister. Quotes from I Have a Dream speech are as important today as they were when he spoke at the 1963 March on Washington held on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial, stretching down the past George Washington Monument to the steps of the U.S. Capitol. This peaceful march was attended by more than 150,000 participants. King said, "So I say to you, my friends, that even though we face the difficulties of today and tomorrow, I still have a dream that this nation will rise up to its promise, that my four little children will not be judged by the color of their skins, but by the content of their character, that my thoughts tis of thee will from every mountainside let freedom ring, and all God's children will be able to say,
Free at last.
Free at last.
Thank God Almighty.
We are free at last.
Wow. I just want to thank these three young people. Can we just thank them one more time? They came to do this presentation really just about a week ago and agreed to do this, and they did a phenomenal job. And I want to thank Lovely Billups for coaching them. Our educator in the village, she was not going to let them off the hook. She made sure they got it right, and it was amazing. So thank you guys so much for this. We're so proud of you. And please send me your presentation together, if you would. I know we have a problem with our system that we need to reboot. We do have another presentation, but if families need to take their kids home now because they have to get to bed, this is a good time. We're going to pause really quick so that we can reboot the system and ask whoever's doing the library program showcase can come forward. Who's doing the library showcase?
Ava and Kathy.
Ava.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
I was brought to tears. That was just so moving. It was beautiful. And we're very excited. I'm Elaine Provenzano, the children's librarian at the library. And I'm so excited to have two of our teen members here. And they want to share some of the programs that they've attended in the past few months, do a little show and tell of the programs and a couple of things that they made.
Thank you.
Okay, so I have Kathy Babalakis here and Ava O'Connell. So please
And
give them a warm welcome.
thank you. And may I ask the two young ladies to write their names down and give it to our clerk so we can make sure we have it in our minutes?
Nicole's already got it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Trustee Engelbert. She's on it.
Hi, I'm Eva, and the library program is really exciting because a lot of times I would forget to sign up, and the lady would actually bring extras so I could do it as well. And they're just really generous in what they do, and actually, basically everything in this bag, including the bag, was made at the library.
Nice.
Wow.
I'm assuming you're going to show us.
How many weeks ago? I think this was one of the last activities before. This was one of the second last activities we made. Stockings, and then we had made, for our last class, we had made scarves and hats that were matching.
Nice.
Very nice.
And then there are also, this is a microwavable heating pad, 2 minutes in the microwave, about like 15 minutes of
Wow.
heat. And then this was the first thing we've made. It's really nice bag. I did not finish it, so there's a tiny hole.
One of the things we had also made were pajama pants.
All right, that's really nice.
Wow.
Oh, I still have the bead.
Oh yeah.
We made wire bracelets. I don't think I did too good on this.
We also made earrings, which I'm wearing right now. So.
Very nice.
Very nice, very nice.
And then like clay, like little plates and stuff. I use this for jewelry at home. And that's it. Okay.
That's a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Very nice and impressive, ladies. I need someone to do some work for me. Are you guys for hire? Thank you very
I
much.
wanted to just give you a little background information. So these were the sewing classes that they did this in, and then we also have an arts and craft program that both of the girls attend, and a lot of our students attend, and it's for adults too. And of course, this is all free. So we hope that everybody at home will sign up and join us and take advantage of the classes, because you can see it's really a lot of fun, and I'm amazed at,
That's very nice.
at what they were able to do, and looking forward to doing so again. And these items in the sewing class were made in one evening. So it was just an evening worth of work. So.
Very nice.
Elaine, can you tell us a bit about how we came to have the sewing machines, which I see in the library, and how difficult it is to get into the sewing program at our library?
Yes, so the Westchester County legislators, Westchester County legislators gave us funding this year for the library. We were able to fund the sewing program as well as the architecture program, our financial literacy program. We were able to purchase 3 sewing machines. We were able to borrow 2 from Westchester Library System. And that's why we had a waiting list. So we had a waiting list. We had a double waiting list for every class. So we're going to try to remedy that a little bit. We'll be able to borrow some more from Westchester Library System, and we're also putting in for more funding for some more sewing machines. So thank you so much, and thank you for all of your support for the library. And thank you, girls.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you. So great to see so many young people as part of our vibrant community. So the next thing on the agenda, public hearing. So we have the first public hearing, the only public hearing. Oh, go ahead and reboot. I thought we rebooted after MLK. Oh, okay. All right. So we're going to have to take a brief pause because we need to reboot us. Okay, we're back on. So we have public hearing to consider a proposed local law modifying the reduction of the speed limit from 30 to 25 miles per hour. And I'd like, before we make, I have asked for a motion, Gary, if you could talk a little bit about the implications of passing this law.
Sure. So it's a little interesting from a traffic perspective. So if the board implements this, what we'd have to do is the signage, and that's what I'll talk about. So what happens is, in lieu of putting a sign on every street on the village to let drivers know what the speed limit is on that street, what we do is every entrance point into the village, we have a village speed limit sign. So that tells us what the speed limit is for the whole village. What we can do then, we'd have to replace all those signs. It gets a little tricky here if we're going to move it down to 25, because Route 22 is a state road, so we don't control the speed limit on Route 22, which is White Plains Road. So that's going to remain 30. So what happens there, so the trick is basically every offshoot to White Plains Road, we would need a speed limit sign to put drivers on notice what the speed limit is coming off of Route 22, because every other entrance to the village will have that village speed limit sign. I'm in court a lot, and I have people say, well, there's no speed limit sign on that street, and I have to explain, well, you didn't get into the village without knowing what this village speed limit was. So the only tricky part, again, would be Route 22, which would remain 30. So the offshoots to 22 would have to have extra signage now.
Okay. And I'm also in talks with the mayor in Bronxville, Mary Marvin, to see if, what their thoughts are on, reducing the speed, because if they keep it at 30 and we are at 25, then we have the same issue coming in from Bronxville, right? So at this point, we're opening the public hearing, and we're asking for the residents to weigh in on this law. So may I ask for a motion to open the public hearing to propose a reduction in the speed limit from 30 to 25 miles?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? So if there's anyone that would like to weigh in that's in-house now, please come forward. If you have any opinion about the reduction of the speed limit from 30 to 25. Sal, is that a smile because you want it to do that? I'm kidding. No one? Okay, we do have somebody in-house first. Mhm.
Elaine Provenzano, 11 River Street, Tuckahoe. I'm very glad that you're going to be reducing, that you have this public hearing to reduce the speed limit. When you stand in Depot Square waiting to cross the street, I have very little hair right now, but when I did, your hair is just, people are going, I think, 40, 45 miles an hour through Depot Square, maybe some even faster. So I think it's going to be safer to have a reduction in the speed limit. So I greatly applaud you trying to do this. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else in-house? Okay, on Zoom?
I was just wondering, do you think those 5 miles are going to make a difference? And are people going to drive slower because you say 25? They're not looking at the signs.
Mhm. Can you please state can you please state your name and address?
Oh, okay. Suzanne Servin, 55 Oakland Avenue, Tuckahoe, New York.
So Suzanne,
I live on Oakland Avenue, and it says children at play, and it says this and this, and guys coming through from Leewood, and they race down the street, and never mind what the sign is, they're not even looking at it. So I'm wondering, is the expense of getting all new signs worth the 5 miles?
mhm. So there are two schools of thought, Suzanne, that I'm hearing from. One says what you're saying. Is it going to make a difference? And is it worth changing some signs? The expense of the signage is not a lot, but it's still an expense to the village. The other school of thought is that if people are going too fast now, maybe a reduction in the speed limit will cause them to slow down a bit. Maybe if they're doing 35, they'll do 30. I don't know. But we have also found that some people feel that there are drivers who are going above the speed limit. And when the police department does a study by putting up a sign to track speeds, sometimes it seems like they're going faster than the speed limit, but in narrow roads, it might seem like you're going faster even though you're not. And 30 might be too fast for some residential streets. So that's why we want to get input from the village residents. We're also talking with the chief and our neighboring towns, because if we have neighboring communities doing the same thing, then we may all want to do it. So right now we're listening.
Okay.
Is there anyone else? Hello? Hi, Carlos. So tell us your name and address, Carlos. Okay. Okay. Thank you for that feedback. Is there someone else on there? Okay.
Hi, good evening. I'm Beverly Christian. I'm at 72 Main Street. And being on this busy street, I think it's, if we can bring it down even, 1 mile an hour at a time is a good thing. We're not saying that we expect 100% of the people to follow it. I mean, we don't have that in any law or any of our rules. But I really, really would like to know that we're moving on the side of safety, and that's our priority.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Is there anyone else who would like to weigh in?
Hello, Samantha, 72 Main Street. And, well, we live right on Main Street, and everybody's, zooming across. Neither of us have cars, but we do walk around the town, and some of the cars just go by just so fast, and even when we're at a crosswalk trying to cross, it's just very, very difficult. So I am in favor of the lower speed limit, but just like Carlos, I think his name was, I don't know how it can be properly enforced. So, if they go over, I mean, people are going over now on the 30. So, I mean, how can we, ensure that people follow the law and make sure that everybody's safe, especially on Main Street?
Thank you. Is there anyone else? And then I'll ask you, Chief, if you could speak to the enforcement of all of this.
Pam Hudson, 64 Midland Place. I live also along Main Street, but right at the intersection where those 5 streets come together. And I think it would really be an improvement in safety if we could lower the speed limit. Enforcement is certainly another issue, but if it's clearly marked and there's a good educational campaign about it and then an enforcement, I would be very much in favor of it. I also walk, as these ladies do, a lot, and I would feel much safer, and I think my family would too. I also have a granddaughter and grandson who live on Oakland Avenue, and I see that happening too, the speeding there, so I'm in favor of it.
Thank you. Okay. Anyone else? Sure.
Gary, what is there a real difference in if you were to get a ticket for speeding now that we've added 5 more miles per hour? Like if you were going 40 and you got caught going 30 versus getting caught going 40 versus 25, is there a material impact on the type of fine or ticket you get?
It's usually the points. You're going to get a speeding ticket, and it goes in increments of 10. So from 1 to 10 would be over a certain speed limit. It's 4 points. Then it goes up to 6 points, and then you're getting, which we usually don't see here. We don't see people going 20 miles an hour over the speed limit. I think I've had one in 20 years. But yeah, so it really comes down to the points. And the point system in New York, it affects your insurance. So if you have points, And it also, I think if you have over 5 points, then New York State charges you basically a tax to drive every year. And if you have over 11 points in an 18-month period, then you'll lose your license.
Anyone else? Chief, would you like to address the enforcement question? Oh, Suzanne, you have something to add?
That in Europe they do that in Austria, speed bumps. And I have tried for years to get somebody to join me to ask for speed bumps down on Oakland Avenue. And it would definitely slow people down. Because if they hit their heads, they're going to go slower.
So thank you, Suzanne. So Chief, could you speak to the speed bumps and the enforcement now?
So I thought you weren't giving me any homework assignments.
Lovely's rubbing off.
So first I'll speak about the enforcement. So every police car that we turn out for patrol has a radar unit in it, meaning that it could detect speeds based on where they are located and the ability to enforce if a car is speeding and if the officer is in fact in a stationary position to enforce the traffic regulations. So we do issue quite a few speeding violations, and I'm sure Gary could attest to that. And probably for the amount of roadway that we have in comparison to many other municipalities, I'm sure that we are in the higher end of enforcement per mile of roadway, particularly because we're such a small village. With that being said, obviously we can't be on every street at every moment, and there are going to be violators who get away with speeding violations. The 25-mile-an-hour speed limit, the 5-mile-an-hour reduction, I think it was Mrs. Irvin or someone who said, you know, it's really an awareness, an education for motorists to slow down when they're in the village. I think it is helpful on a lot of streets when you talk about Main Street and the narrowness, and where these residents that spoke earlier in front of 72, for instance, is probably one of the more narrower sections of Main Street. Probably someone going 30 miles an hour on Main Street is too fast. So would it help in those instances? I believe that it will, and I believe from an awareness and educational standpoint, it will as well. But if you talk about other streets like Oakland Avenue or Gifford or some of the smaller, Bella Vista, Dante, 25 miles an hour is too fast for those roadways. So there's another section in the speeding vehicle and traffic law that talks about reasonableness and prudence when you're driving. So those are instances where the officer, if he sees somebody who's driving at an excessive speed, even if it's 20 miles an hour on a very small, narrow dead end, for instance, the end of Bronx Street or River Street or that area, they could ride under that section and they don't need the radar to back it up. All our officers receive training to be able to estimate speeds within a 5-mile-an-hour span. So there's two ways of enforcing the law. One is with a radar device and one is with their observations. So that's how we enforce the speeding violations in the village. Again, lowering the speed limit is not going to cure all the traffic safety issues. And of course, when you lower the speed, the purpose is to reduce crashes. And you know, I do believe that it has the potential to reduce crashes. We are fortunate in the fact that we do not have a lot of motor vehicle accidents, whether it's, you know, vehicle versus vehicle or vehicle versus pedestrian. In fact, we receive awards for that because we do have such a low rate of motor vehicle accidents, and it's due to our education process and our enforcement, and we hope to continue that, whether it's 30 miles per hour or 25.
Thanks, Chief. And
speed humps that we talked about, I know if Mrs. Servant is still listening, several years ago we did a survey on Oakland Avenue. We couldn't get the neighbors to agree. You know, we have a whole speed hump policy that is on our website that was developed many years ago to address how we would go about implementing them if they were appropriate. On a lot of streets, they're not appropriate because of the amount of commercial vehicles that travel, how it would impact emergency services, fire trucks, ambulances, et cetera. So not every street would be eligible based on the criteria in the policy, but then it goes further to say that, you know, a large percentage of the residents all have to agree that it's appropriate for their neighborhood.
Thank you. Okay. Is there anyone else that would like to address the board and weigh in on the reduction in the speed limit? Okay, so if there's no one else, we will leave the public hearing open till next month. If you have any other thoughts and you'd like to come to the next board meeting, we will have the public hearing remain open until then. So we'll move on to the adoption of the minutes. May I have a motion for the approval of minutes for December 5th, 2022?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? And this brings us to the first opportunity to address the board on any agenda items. Come forward. Oh, sorry, Anthony, she beat you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I am delivering a message that I usually deliver. Oh, Lovely Billups, South High Street, Tuckahoe forever. I usually give these accolades in December. I was not able to attend that meeting, so I do want to take thank you. Years ago, I met my cousin, and they said, "Are you okay?" And I'm saying, "Well, yeah, are you okay?" It turns out that at 90, I hit the 9/11 button. But what got to me was that they were not annoyed or anything. They were concerned. And that just made me feel that's a Tuckahoe thing. I mean, it wasn't, no, look, you took our time, and da, da, da. They were happy that I was okay. I appreciate that. And that's the spirit of the Tuckahoe Police Department. I'm so grateful for you. And I just want you to know that. And the Beautification Committee. You deserve accolades. I've had, you know, I'm all over Tuckahoe. I've had so many people from the outside comment on the absolute beauty of the village of Tuckahoe and the baskets and so forth. And you know that my favorite are the Christmas lights that look like candy canes going down there. I don't think anybody can beat us. So I wanted to, there's a lot of sad and bad news out here. I just want to be the good news bunny tonight. Thank you so much. And the board, my hat's off to you. You have conducted yourselves with dignity and with truth as much as I see it. I'm not going to speak anyone else's truth, but I'm very proud of you. Very proud of you. And I have to say it, 4 women. That's I have a right to say that as a woman. So thank you. They call me Miss Diversity because I believe in it. I believe in the strength of diversity, and I believe that's what Tuckahoe is showing. And did you see those 3 young people today? Yep. They had 1 week to put that together. That's Tuckahoe, and the next group will be as diverse as that. So thank you. Happy New Year, everybody.
Thank you. Happy New Year.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
3 Midland Place.
Hello.
I think it's resolution number 2. It's the sewer relining and replacement, Midland, Union, and Washington. Now, I'm assuming they're going to be digging up the road, or just going to go in it? Because I know there's parking spaces down there. It's like people need them down there.
Yeah, there would be digging others. So the portion that would actually be replaced is kind of in front of the VFW building.
Okay.
About a 150-foot stretch there. Everything else would just be sewer relining. Right. So it's just from manhole to manhole, so no ripping up the road.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay, thanks.
Good question, Anthony.
I forgot the DPW. Oh, my Lord. I did say how beautiful Tuckahoe is, but I want the DPW to know how much I appreciate you. You're efficient, and you make us look great.
Yep. They put up those candy canes. Okay. Anyone else would like to address the board on any agenda items? Okay, so we'll move on to resolution number 1, authorizing the piggyback of a Village of Bronxville sewer relining bid for services on Warren Avenue in the amount of $30,300 to Green Mountain Pipeline Services. May I have a motion to authorize?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? And may I have a motion authorizing the execution of the IMA with Westchester County for the disbursement of $149,820 for the sewer repair and relining project in Midland Place that Mr. Fiore just alluded to. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? And may I have a motion to pay the bills in the amount of $641,682.59?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? And that'll take us to departmental reports. And Chief, since you're here, you don't want to talk anymore? You're over it? We don't have DPW here? No? Does he have anything?
Yes. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can.
I just wanted to say thank you for remembering us. But most importantly, John Reichel, I want to follow up on what John had said. When he works at our department, he is sunshine. No matter what mood you're in, when John comes into our department, he just makes us all smile. He's just a special person, and he just brings the family together. He really does. And guys know him no matter where he is, whether he's at the community center, whether he's at the police department, or whether he's at DPW. He's just well loved, and I'm so happy that he's got a full-time position. I wish him luck, and he knows we're always there for him.
Thank you. Anybody on the board?
I do.
Go ahead.
So Frank, the Christmas trees, has the village complied with when they should be setting out their discarded Christmas trees? So the Christmas trees, have we been complying with the right day to put Christmas trees out on the sidewalk and the DPW taking those away?
I think everybody has. If everybody could just put it out on a Thursday, I know some people have put it out during the week. We do grab it, and we do recycle it. So I ask people not to keep lights on it with tinsels or bulbs or any of the above, which we do end up mulching and
That's hysterical. Who uses tinsel?
mulching these trees and putting them to good use.
That's funny.
The trees.
Bare,
sans the
naked,
stuff on-
naked trees.
Naked trees.
Naked trees.
On Thursdays.
We usually pick them up Thursday with yard waste, so if everybody can do that, it would be great. Instead of leaving it out all week long. We can't get to it every day, and we don't want to, litter our streets with Christmas trees. Unless they're all lit up and ready to, for viewing.
Okay. Thank you, Frank.
Okay.
Swadish, can you do the library report?
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I just want to tell you some of the upcoming programs. We are going to start, it's a new year, so we are starting a brand new English language teaching program. Our class is going to start every Wednesday from January 25th at 11 a.m. And we are having a talk about tech talk from Dr. Naomi Safra on Monday, January 23rd at 7 p.m. And the title is Hacking Disability, Accessible and Adaptable Tech. In this program, she will discuss the intersection of disability and technology, how disabled people use or adapt technology from their particular needs, and the obstacles that keep them from using tech to their fullest extent. And we have two incredible author talks coming up. On Thursday, January 26th, Dr. William Rezelbach will join us virtually to discuss his new book, Through the Eyes of a Child of Holocaust Survivor, on January and January 30th, Monday, we will have the honor of hosting author Linda Cohen-Loigman for our monthly book club to discuss her novel, The Matchmaker's Gift. And we also starting, which is by great demand, people were asking the knitting club, and it's on starting on Monday, January 23rd at 1 p.m. If you need supply, we will have it at the library, and if you have your own project, please come and join. And for teens, we our Dungeon and Dragons program is very popular. We still have waiting list going. It's growing, and then we are trying to add more programs. And for children's, we full house. Today Miss Elaine had sing-along, and it was a full house. We had, I think, 25 adults and 30 kids. It was packed at the library, and you should have seen. It was so much fun. They were playing instruments. Elaine did a good job. I
Yeah,
have to say.
she's very popular. She's a very popular gig in town.
I know. And the voice, she sang so beautifully. And we have art classes, art class by Mike Teeter for children, Wednesday, January 11 at 4:30 for ages 7 to 10, hybrid yoga program. And we have a special program for parents, online modern cloth typing one-on-one.
Wow.
We are partnering with the Greenberg Library, where she will share her learn tips and tricks about cloth typing. So
Awesome.
it's interesting program. So if you are interested, please join. Sign up for online, and we are having special story time, bilingual Mandarin story time, Tuesday, January 17 at 11 a.m. Bilingual Spanish story time with Miss Ines on Friday, January 20th, and our story times back on Tuesday, January 24 and 31st at 11 a.m. And for teens, we have also their graphic novel book club, and for their craft program, we are, Miss Lisa is going to show them on Monday, January 23rd at 3:30 p.m. It's for teens and adults, how to make a scarf, tie-dye scarf. So, lot of programs, and any question, give me a call or give us a call, or you can sign up for all these events.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So, Deputy Mayor, there definitely is something for everybody, huh? So the next village board meeting is on February 6, 2022. Mark your calendars at 7 p.m. And the next, Camille, do you have anything? David?
I do want to mention something about the appointments as well. We skipped over a couple people that I just want to give a little bit of background. Chris Mahoney, this is kind of more of a promotion. And not long ago, we promoted the board authorized him to be a laborer down there,
Right.
and he went out. He got his CDL licenses, so this is a really great promotion and kind of
true.
taking people within the department to kind of move up. Very super happy about John Reichel. He's going to be great for the organization. But just John Sullivan is going to be an administrative intern here, and you'll meet him next week. He's actually currently moving down from Rochester, New York, to take this position as an intern. I have so many projects for him, so many things that are just going to be great for this organization, from a compensation study to grant management to some HR help and things like that. So you'll meet John next month. He'll come to the board meetings. He'll be at our work sessions, and I'm really happy for him to join us. Just a quick update on our traffic signal project. If you drove around the village today, you started to see them go up finally on Columbus and Fisher. They were working on Columbus and Fisher, and Columbus and Marbledale. You saw a bunch of the poles actually go up today. So that project is finally back on track. They look really good, so really super happy about that.
That's great. Gary?
So briefly, back in August, this board designated the Ward House an historical landmark. The Ward House is the White House up on the top of Winter Hill and an intersection of 22. That hearing that this board had was really prompted from a recommendation from the Historical Commission recommending to this board that that house be designated. And that's all pursuant to the Tuckahoe historical preservation law. The homeowner, the property owner has now challenged that designation. So we'll be dealing with that in the upcoming months and defend this board's position and determination that it is a historical landmark. But we'll be dealing with that shortly.
Thank you. Anything else?
That'll be it.
All right. That'll take us to board trustees reports, and we'll start with Trustee Engelbert.
Awesome. Okay, so I've got my three big reports kind of for the month. Okay, so the Tuckahoe History Committee. Thank you for all that you do, but a lot of stuff going on. There's some presentation dates for February that will be kind of determine the Crestwood Historical Society as well as our own wonderful Tuckahoe Library. Starting next month, Nick Zanzano will actually be doing kind of the new Historians Corner, pretty snazzy kind of title. And he'll be giving kind of 5-minute presentations at our monthly board meetings. Look at, you're going to kind of learn about what's going on in the village and get an education about the village at the same time. The Historical Committee has also met with the Westchester County Historical Roundtable. They're working on the website, completing the digitization, try to say that 3 times fast, of the final historical binders. There's 178 kind of them, quite a project. And as a technology person myself, I love that you are transferring all these archived photos and binders to the cloud because that's where they're safest and that's where they should live. Lots of great stuff on Facebook. The reach was 7,304. With 1,700 engaging with the posts. These are really great numbers from a social engagement perspective. If you still have photos and pieces and articles that you'd like to share, kind of do to send them over to tuckahoearchive@gmail.com. And the History Committee does meet on Wednesdays from 9:30 to 12. As you know, right here in Village Hall. Contact information is available on the Village website. So the Tuckahoe Community Center, I do want to say that the level of activity over the last year has really been amazing. I met recently with John Galuzzi, the director, kind of over there, and activity has increased about 30%, kind of year on year, particularly on the party line, meeting kind of birthday parties, baptisms, not, wild ragers at the community center. But I want to personally thank John Galuzzi. See, they're mean to me every time. Every time. John Galuzzi is there. He's always there, day in and day out. And he did remark to me that you have a healthy community center because someone is there to answer the phone. And I would say that it's quite a bit more that John does for our community center, kind of day in and day out, weekend and week out. He really embodies what it means to kind of drive a truly thriving community center. So I just wanted to personally thank him for that commitment. Kind of in that vein, if you do want to have one of those parties and no wild ragers, do call up the Village Center now because that calendar gets booked up pretty quickly. And even this month, they have launched the cornhole games that are going on at the community center for our retired postal and fire department workers. I think that's really just fantastic and a fantastic use of our community center. I do want folks, if you have a pencil in your bag, to mark your calendars for the Forever Rallying for Regina Blood Drive. That will be on February 4th from 8 to 5. I also have a phone number if you want that kind of as well. And last but not least, our Tuckahoe Public Library. How about our students? I wish they had actually done a fashion show, but that's a bit much. But for those of you who are old enough to remember home ec classes, I remember mine with Mrs. McIntyre very much. But I think the sewing class really demonstrates a need that was in our community that our library staff recognized and acted on and are now our residents and neighbors are really getting the benefit of. I mean, the role of the public library has changed dramatically in current times and in the future, and I believe very strongly that our library staff is ahead of that curve and are leading from the front, and us as the Village of Tuckahoe are benefiting kind of from that, and the sewing class is just kind of one of those. I was going to spotlight the diapering class, but that was kind of weird. But I will spotlight next week. There will be 2 bilingual story times that will be held on Tuesday in celebration of the Chinese New Year, and then on Friday in Spanish, both at 11 a.m. The Chinese New Year is at the community center, and the Spanish story time will be held in the adult reference area of the library. But that's it for me.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor?
Hi, everyone. Zoning and planning, I'll go over first. So zoning meeting will be held January 11th with the work session at 6:30 p.m. and then followed by the actual meeting. Before the board are 3 area variances, one at 118 Sagamore for a new gazebo to be built, one at 2 Grant, the corner of Grant and Sagamore, which actually is asking for the reduction of parking space that's around a business, and at 22 Wallace for area variance for a finished basement. On the planning board, the meeting will be held January 17th at 7 p.m. The work session was already held on January 3rd. There are 2 site plans being reviewed. One is for 12 Fisher Avenue, which is Stevens Green. That's a site plan for outdoor seating. And then 5 Fisher Avenue is a site plan for a new business. That's the old Pure Food and Drink, who was there previously. And I think the Historical Preservation Commission has not announced the date for its January meeting. Is that correct? Not yet? Okay. For Eastchester Schools, the next scheduled Board of Education meeting will be January 10th at 7:30 p.m. at the high school library. The Committee on Preschool Education and the Committee on Special Education will make their annual recommendations to the Board of Ed. The working meeting will be on January 24th. Currently, there is an open board position. I believe they took applications for it, so I'm assuming that soon it will be announced who will fill that open board position. On January 11th, the Eastchester Special Education PTA will be hosting a meeting by Zoom on recreation and activities for individuals with special needs. I have this up on my Facebook page. There's a really long list of great programs, so anybody who's interested in that, anybody who is interested can attend by Zoom. And then on January 27th, one of the big events every year for Eastchester schools are the hosting of a basketball game with the Harlem Wizards and against the Eastchester All-Stars, who's kind of like a ragtag team of teachers and administrators, and it's always a fun game. So tickets for that are on sale now, and I'll put that on my Facebook site as well. It's January, so it's my favorite time of year as we start up with the state legislature, and I just wanted to go over a few of the things that might impact the village that people should be aware of. This really comes from an organization called NICOM, of which the village is a member of, a group that helps advocate on the behalf of municipalities to things like the state legislature. So they recently put out their agenda, and these are some of the items that I thought might be of interest to us. One is a call to reinvest state tax revenue back into municipal governments. They're making a call in the same way that we did a couple years ago about school funding, which has not ever been, the state has not really met its promise on the municipal funding front, so that's a big advocacy push for municipalities. Another big one that has affected our village are dedicated funding for local water and sewer infrastructure. The NICOM is positioning it to be similar to the local state and highway funding programs, where municipalities are given money based on the amount of highway, or in this case it would be sewer structure that they have. So right now, all of the aid is based on emergency situations, so you have to have a big flood, and then you might get some help. They're trying to get that into, ahead of the game rather than being behind in response to an emergency. So I think those are two really big issues for us to advocate on as local government. A returning issue that I think has been something we've discussed here are the additional public safety considerations and bail determinations. So we talked a lot about and advocated for with our police department when the first bail reform came out. So there are still a few gaps that people are interested in, and it mostly is around the ability of a judge to make certain considerations for bail. So that is still an ongoing discussion, and it's an important thing to have a discussion with our police chief and then back to our state legislature. A similar on the funding front, there's also a push to have state support for local EMS services. Especially during COVID, these services were kind of gutted financially, and so they're in really dire straits around the state. And then finally, a personal appeal I'm trying to make to everybody that I can talk to is a call for reform of the civil service law, which in my experience of the past nearly 4 years, perhaps at one time this was a good thing, but it really puts a lot of constraints on making appointments and require jumping through a lot of kind of archaic hoops to try to recruit people. So one big reform that they're asking for is the ability to have continuous recruitment, right? Right now, there's a lot of stop and starts that the system forces us to go through when we have to hire somebody. So they're trying to lobby to change that about the civil service law. And then finally, I just wanted to say, again, thank you to the students who were here. That was a beautiful presentation. And I wanted to remind folks that one of the great ways that I think we traditionally celebrate Dr. King's birthday is by community service. So we happen to have 2 ad hoc positions open on the zoning and the planning board. And I'd like to see some people make their commitment to these boards on January 16th.
That's a good segue.
So thank you.
So if you want to honor Dr. Martin Luther King, see Deputy Mayor Howell regarding these positions, and I'm sure you all want to. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. And just one additional note regarding the civil service law, we've actually, to Deputy Mayor's point, have in the last few years experienced the hardship of trying to fill positions, find people that are either the village or the police department feel are people who are qualified, and there have been a lot of constraints that have made life a little bit difficult. So hopefully we can make some progress there. Trustee Taylor?
Good evening. The Tuckahoe Housing Authority Tennis would like to thank the Housing Authority Board and the Tennis Association for their toy drive that they had in December that helped make the families in need Christmas a better holiday. And the next Tuckahoe Housing Authority Board meeting is next Thursday on the 12th at 7:30 p.m. The Eastchester Community Action Partnership. In 2022, ECAP distributed over 47,000 pounds of food through their food bank to those in need. So there has been an increase in families in need, an increase in seniors in need. And every year, they have a year-end campaign to raise funds to help them with the cost of their food bank. And they didn't do, this past year, December, they didn't do quite as well as they did the 2 previous years. But anyone who is looking for a worthy cause to contribute to helping people, feeding people, is definitely a worthy cause. So anybody who is interested in doing so, you can contact the ECAP Director Denise Chin at 914-337-7768. She will be happy to take your call for any contribution that would help ECAP in all their endeavors. And I just want to congratulate the youngsters, Andrew, Justin, and Sanvi, on their MLK presentation. They all did an awesome job, and an awesome job by the Beautification Committee and the DPW for how great they had this village looking for the holidays. I'm not sure, might have been the deputy mayor posted a picture of Main Street on Facebook, and it was awesome to see. It was looking good. So a job well done. And Happy New Year's to everyone.
Thank you. Trustee Taylor, Trustee Cronin.
Hello, everybody. Good evening. I'm going to just piggyback where Trustee Taylor left off. Those hangings, the holiday hangings from the Beautification Committee, they are not free. And so they rely on our donations. So when you make your donation to ECAP, please also make another donation to the Beautification Committee, because they do a lot to make this village really beautiful, along with the help of the DPW. So they are now accepting donations now that the holidays are over and we can move on to other kinds of spending. They are accepting donations via their Facebook page or in their website. Speaking of DPW, every year DPW holds a toy drive where they collect toys at the DPW headquarters on Marbledale. This is, I believe, the brainchild of Claudio Santana. I just want to thank the DPW for doing that. Through those gifts, we were able to give 35 local Tuckahoe families a little extra help with gifts this year. So thank you to Claudio, and also to Joe Tavlillo and Deputy Mayor Howell and the resident coordinator at 100 Columbus, Kenyatta Cooper, who helped make that a possibility. So that was really successful. And it was a lot of fun, yeah. And the test committee is starting a public awareness campaign about the benefits of using electronic blowers and yard tools as opposed to gas-powered ones. We do get a lot of people who are concerned about the noise, about the air pollution, about the noise pollution, the smell. And so the test committee would like people to try out these new battery-powered tools. They have gotten much better in the last couple years, and probably we will be moving only to those. So check out the TESC's Facebook page and their website they have a whole video presentation about them. At the Tuckahoe Seniors, this is a little bit bittersweet, but Jennifer Vetromile has resigned as the director of the Tuckahoe Seniors at the end of December. We will really miss her. She was wonderful. On behalf of everyone here on the board, I want to thank her for more than 10 years of service to the community. In this time, Jennifer grew the program at the Tuckahoe Seniors. She created a lifeline during the pandemic to dozens of our seniors and kept us one of the only operating senior centers in all of Westchester County, which is no small feat. Especially considering we're such a small little village. She worked tirelessly to get grant money and donations, and worked hand in hand with different village departments and people at the county level to coordinate events like the bazaar and the jewelry sale. We wish her nothing but the best in her next chapter, and the board would also like to welcome Miss Lisa Scaramuzzo-Jones as the new director of the Tuckahoe Seniors. She comes from a long background in nonprofit, and she's warm and welcoming and very friendly, and I have no doubt she'll be a wonderful addition to the Tuckahoe Seniors. So welcome to Lisa, and thank you to Jennifer on her retirement. And I believe that might be it.
Thank you, Trustee Cronin. I feel like I'm losing my voice. So as you guys can hear, just hearing the trustee reports, how vibrant and engaged the community we live in. This is one of the greatest municipalities in Westchester County, and I'm really honored to be a part of this board who does so much work for this community. And I really, at the beginning of the year, want to thank all of our volunteers and our employees in the village who work so hard to not just make sure that we stay below the tax cap, but that our resources are used. Our resources are used very wisely, and we're often yelled at for trying to spend some of it. But I want to give you guys a year in review, give you some highlights as to what we've done in the village, some highlights around our budget, hires and appointments, so that you have a real good idea of how much work goes into maintaining a village of under a square mile and 7,000 people who live here. So we've passed some legislation this year, the past year. In May, we formed, as most people have already heard 1,000,001 times, we formed the Tuckahoe Historic Preservation Task Force, later who is now the Historic Preservation Commission, and we appointed 3 members under the leadership of Jenny Steinhagen. In August, the first application for historic landmarking was presented and passed for the Ward House, as our village attorney just mentioned, and we're currently in litigation surrounding issues regarding that landmarking. So it's important for people to understand that while we're committed to our history and preserving it, in doing so, we're presented with challenges along the way. In December, a landmarking application was submitted to the commission for the Washington Hotel. In July, the village board adopted a local law on affordable housing, mandating, in essence, new development in Tuckahoe to include 10% of its units as affordable housing. And in April, a beekeeping ordinance was passed, thanks to Tesk's work on that, and also to our daughter of Tuckahoe, Erin Provenzano. In November, a referendum was passed to move village elections from March to November, and this was a referendum passed by the residents. And so that was with a vote of 1839 in favor and 510 opposed. So there was a resounding yes by the village to move the elections. I think people are sick of us knocking on their doors. And in February, the board adopted the Declaration of Human Rights, which is not an actual legislation, but a commitment to human rights for all. And we've also, we've made a few new appointments and hires in our departments. So in DPW, the Department of Public Works, we hired Christopher Mahoney and Darrell Gray as sanitation laborers, and you heard today that subsequently we promoted Christopher Mahoney to a driver once he got his CDL license. And in the police department, we're proud that we received reaccreditation by the New York State Department of Criminal Justice Services. The accreditation program is comprised of 110 standards that aid police departments in evaluating and improving its overall performance, and it provides a formal recognition that an accredited agency either meets or exceeds those 110 standards of quality service, and our department did just that. And when I met with the director who came in to evaluate us, you know, they asked to meet with me and said that there are very few municipalities that they've gone to that have reached the standards the way we have in Tuckahoe. So thank you, Chief, for your leadership, and thank you to the police department. And you heard from a resident today that was not staged. She did dial 911, and she blames it on being 90 years old. I'll go with that. We've also hired 4 police officers in 2022, Officers Daniel and Brandon Bellis, Jalen LeBoy, and Robert Lally. So we are ensuring that everyone's safety and also that our community policing remains intact. We've had a few new board and committee members appointed to the zoning board. We had 3. Heather Rinaldi, Lauren Parenta, and Henry Suarez, who's in ad hoc. And to the assessment board, we did appoint 2 people, Zakina Smith and Andy Rento, and to sign an awning board, Laura Guaricio and Karen Cashman to the library board. So it's, you know, I think we've heard several people here ask for volunteers. We do have some vacancies, but the village is really a vibrant and great place to be because so many people give of their time and their talent. So if you have any interest in serving in any way and you're not sure, just come and ask, because there may be a good fit for you and you may really feel really fulfilled in serving on one of these boards. The board also hosted 3 high school interns, 2 from Eastchester High School and 1 from Tuckahoe High School, and the trustees and I were just really impressed by our young people in in the high schools. So we appreciate that they have the WISE program that allows us to choose from students who are interested in different aspects of possible future careers. And then there were some capital projects. And, a key role of village government, local government, is to ensure that the quality of life is protected through great services. So that's why we have DPW and the police and the library. This past year, there were a few capital projects. Some were continuation, some were new, and some will continue. But at Village Hall and the community center, we had an HVAC project. At the community center, we had the restroom renovations, and thank you to Shelley Mayer for granting us $245,000 to complete the project. I tell people it wasn't just bathrooms, it's quality of life for people. And so those projects are important. Many of those, the infrastructure has not been upgraded in many, many years. We've had upgrades to our court, some road resurfacing. Last year I talked about, historic number of surfacing of our roads, and we continue in that effort the best that we can. Our tennis courts were upgraded, and I've had many people email me or stop me on the street and say they're really excited because they play tennis and they love the new upgrades. The Main Street playground redesign and reopening happened in 2022. The Old Stone Mill Monument was completed. We have 34 charging stations, I believe, ports, and 17 ports and 34 charging stations. So I know our trustee Engelbert is excited about that because she's got, oh no, you don't need it, right? Okay, never mind. It's not fully electric, but trustee Engelbert uses them. And the Tuckahoe station upgrades that MTA is doing is still continuing. And we had our village administrator talk about the traffic light signal upgrades, and those are also continuing. And then just some budget highlights. Our auditors gave us a brief overview last month, but sometimes we need to hear it again and just know how prudent and really how our village administrator and our accountant really manage our money. They are on it. And they're on it with us. Like, well, let's think about that. No, we don't want to touch our fund balance. But the tax sales were really unprecedented last year. We budgeted for 1.3 million, and we came in at 1.7 million. So we're doing well with that, and we're anticipating that hopefully tax revenue will continue to be good for 2023. Hotel tax was budgeted at 100,000 and came in at 165,000, which is really a good indication of how robust our community is. People are coming here, they're staying at the hotel, and they are patronizing our businesses. And our departmental income, which includes clerk fees, police fees, parking and meter fees, came in lower because of meters, mostly, I believe, budgeted at 1.1 million. And where the actual was 987,000. We did do well with our licenses and permits, including our filming, which includes fee permits, rentals, licenses. The original budget was 524,000. We increased it to 690, but the actual surpassed both the budget and came in at $959,000. We did get some money from the American Rescue Act, $669,000, and that did not hurt our bottom line. So our revenue for 2022 was 14.7 million. Granted, the hotel and sales tax and the American Rescue money that came in did impact that. But if you compare it to 2021, in 2021 our revenue was at 12.9 million. Which is $198,000 less than 2022. And at the last meeting, our auditors pointed out that we have a really healthy fund balance at $2,569,000, which is 18% of our budget. And as Trustee Engelbert asked, why is this so important? It's important because it's sort of like your credit score. You get judged. if you have your fund balance impacts your ability to save money, it impacts your Moody's rating. And so that it's important that we maintain a healthy fund balance. And I have to really thank our village employees, our village administrator working with our accountant to ensure that we maintain a healthy fund balance and that we don't spend it all on ferries and what's our favorite thing? The creepy candy crawl. Creepy candy crawl. Some additional funding that we did secure for library construction. We did get a grant from our Assemblywoman, Amy Paulin, and I know the library loves our Assemblywoman. She gave us $500,000, and our State Senator, Shelley Mayer, $100,000 toward that project. So you'll be hearing more information soon about the project. It's very exciting. There will be a little bit of disruption in our lives, and I ask people to be patient and to be nice to our library staff when we have to make some changes, possibly location, and there may be, access may be impacted, access to our library. The Tuckahoe Road Race, which was led by our deputy mayor, once again raised $30,000 and had nearly 500 participants. So thank you to Renee. And all of these funds are really crucial to maintaining the quality of life and helping us to pass a budget that is below the tax cap, which is not easy to do. We're very, very prudent with our finances and sometimes pretty creative. And then we had a lot of community events that were sponsored by the Village DPW Day, the TESC sponsored Cleanup Day. For those who don't know, TESC is the Tuckahoe Environmental and Sustainability Committee. We had our Senior Bazaar, the Tuckahoe Housing Family Day, as well as several block parties, a creepy candy crawl, which was a huge, huge hit. I think we may have had around 1,000 people there. No, Chief? About? Black History Month and Juneteenth celebrations by the Juneteenth Committee. The Easter egg hunt came back. We celebrated 120-year anniversary in Tuckahoe, and we celebrated with fireworks, yoga in the park, craft tables, story time with Miss Elaine. We had a historic history trolley tour, the Hoops Festival. The police had the police night out and Cone with a Cop. And didn't we have pizza with the police too? Pizza with the police. Movie night at the park. We started that the year before last, thanks to Trustee Cronin, and we had 3 with the kids, and we had one date night movie night, and it was kind of a wash because it rained out, but we'll try it again. And then we had young people again coming forward. I love to see young people come to the mic here and share with us. And Hudson Axelbaum, one of our residents, 7-year-old resident, started Tuckahoe Kids Table because he wanted to give back to his community. So he raised $1,500 for community organizations. And we had a beautiful ceremony honoring veterans and highlighted several of our veterans at the community center. And a special thank you to Trustee Cronin and our very own Josh Gaccioni, who's here, veteran, who helped us with organizing that. And last month we had our winter festival that some of you may have attended. We did have free short-term parking to encourage local shopping. So we hope you took advantage of that. And I also want to thank the Generoso Pope Foundation for donating its space to host our Westchester Municipal Officers Association meeting in December. Deputy Mayor Howell mentioned NICOM, the New York Conference of Mayors and Elected Officials. We also have a local organization that does education and advocacy as well, and we're a member as well. And we take turns hosting those meetings, and we had to host in December, and that was a great time for us to host because Tuckahoe is beautiful in December. So we got a lot of beautiful emails from other municipalities saying it was really great to come to Tuckahoe during December. So thank you to David Pope and the Pope Foundation for allowing us to use their space, and they donated that. And then in response to COVID, people say, oh, we're done, and then we're not. So in 2022, we held 3 clinics, one in January, April, and October, and we provided vaccines to more than 150 people. And we distributed COVID tests, hand sanitizers, and masks to about 200 residents. And we've had a few new businesses come in. In February, we had a ribbon cutting for Lotus Threads. Ladies, if you are not looking to get married, think about it. You might want to. The dresses are absolutely beautiful, or you could just go get an evening gown, right? So Lotus Threads had their ribbon cutting in February, and they actually opened during COVID in 2020 and have really, just tried to hang in there. They come from the city, and the designer, Maribel Diaz, is really very talented. In March, we had the ribbon cutting for Prana Yoga in where Yoga Haven was on Main Street. In July, we had the ribbon cutting for 089, the Italian restaurant that used to be the Tap House, and they're doing very well. And we do have an upcoming ribbon cutting for Buleria Tapas, where the quarry was at 106 Main Street. It's this Thursday on January 12th at 5 p.m. If you are around and available, come out and check out Buleria Tapas, Spanish tapas place. I'm happy that we were able to close on contract negotiations with the police department as well as DPW, with both the village and the two departments feeling like it was a very fair contract. So I'm proud of that. We also added Juneteenth, which is now a federal holiday, as a holiday for village employees. So they'll be able to celebrate on that day as well, as the rest of the country does. And we continue to do work with legislators and the Army Corps of Engineers. I don't know where my brain stopped working for on flood mitigation, which is not quite as easy a problem as people think. People send me a whole bunch of emails with, "This is easy to take care of. Just do this." But we're working with the professionals who are trying to figure out the most cost-effective way and also the most comprehensive way, and not to have, Band-Aid fixes. So having said all of that, I want to thank all of our volunteer boards and committees for their work throughout the year. We've said it once and we'll say it again. This work cannot get done with those people who give their time, sometimes for many years and even decades, to make sure that we have a planning board and zoning boards, and that we are helping the village to make sure that we stay on track. So I want to thank the boards themselves, but also the leadership to those boards. So for the planning board, thank you to Antonio Leo. Zoning board, Tom Ringwald. Sign and awning board, Laura Raffiani. The TESC, Tuckahoe Environmental and Sustainability Committee, Donald Crosby, thank you. Sue Chiamara for the work on the beautification committee. History committee, Nick Zanzano, who was recently appointed last year. The library board, Ginger Crosby. And the Historic Preservation Commission, Jenny Steinhagen. I thank the leadership, but I thank all of the boards as well. And also I thank the village staff and all of our departments in DPW and the police, the library. There's just so much great work that's happening and so many dedicated people. And also I want to say thank you to this board who comes together whenever we have any project to complete. We help each other, and we are very supportive of our departments. We care about the people that we are working with and that are working with us, and we try to partner in all that we do. So thank you, Trustee Engelbert, Trustee Deputy Mayor Howell. Thank you, Trustee Taylor and Trustee Cronin. I appreciate you. And so there are a couple of things that are ahead. I want to thank Deputy Mayor Howell for agreeing to lead the Comprehensive Master Plan Committee. I said it on TV so that she can't take it back. And she does have for those of you, I know you've been waiting to hear from us. We've had a number of projects that have taken our attention away from that, but we are going to get on track this year and choose some people to serve on that committee and move forward with a comprehensive plan. We continue with our sewer and traffic light infrastructure upgrades, and you heard some of that today. Our library redesign is going to be underway at some point, and you'll hear more about that. And we continue to work on our flood mitigation which continues to be a problem for some of our residents. And every time it even drizzles, I get nervous for people here. So that's it for me. If you have anything else, anyone that would like to address the board, you may do so now. Sure.
Hello, Rita Mastro Berardino, 261 Dante Avenue. I want to also thank everybody who supports and who serves the community of Tuckahoe. We came to this village a long time ago for the commute, and I always like to say we stayed for the community. And it's all evident. You've said it all. I echo all of what you've said. And I'm actually here to talk about my blood drive, which Trustee Engelbert so nicely already mentioned, and thank John Gallucci, which I will do too. But I'll come back next month with the details. But I just wanted to say, I'd like to thank the village of Tuckahoe in general for letting me host this blood drive. This is our 11th annual blood drive, and it's a huge success every year. We had 2 years of, 2 years where we had it remotely, which doesn't make any sense unless you know that it's also a raffle and bake sale. So, and we have some former raffle winners in the room.
I thought you were going to say you have some bake stuff. Back
No.
there. Oh.
February 4th.
Okay.
And the bake sale and the raffles support the American Cancer Society and our Relay for Life team, Forever Rallying for Regina. And I have some flyers. I'd like to leave some here, give them to anybody who has a place to put them on a bulletin board. And I'll see you on February 4th between 10 and 4. It's very easy to sign up. You actually can go to the website. I'll send you a link. I can email you this flyer, or you can just hover over this QR code and it'll take you right to the site for the New York Blood Center.
Okay.
Thank you. Yes, I will.
Okay.
Any
Thank
questions?
you.
Let me know.
Yes. So, Rita, I think I did get a question from someone who asked, are there any restrictions with whom can donate?
Yes. So it's not about with whom, but it might
Or-
be a situation.
That's what I mean. Mm-hmm.
An illness in history, a tattoo or a piercing, a place you visited. But it's actually better to go to the website and look it up than to rely on me to answer the specific question. But yes, there are a few restrictions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else would like to address the board?
Good evening, members of the board.
Good evening.
My name's Anthony Laurie. Wishes all happy New Year's, happy holidays. I just want to say, everyone likes a little raise in their pay at the end of the year, or the end of their contract, or their Social Security, or any pension. But we just had, I think a week or two ago, or last week, a shameful thing with the New York State Assembly and Senate did. They voted themselves, not a $100 raise or a $1,000 raise, they voted themselves a $32,000 raise each. And not one assemblyman or senator was absent. Everybody ran to Albany. When other times, when you're looking for something to be passed, Senator Jones wasn't here, Assemblyman Smith wasn't here, but this one, nobody missed. And I think it's a shameful Senate and Assembly to give themselves a $32,000 raise, and the governor just signed it off. And who's paying for it? We, the taxpayers. And like I says, we all love a raise, and you know darn well in your salary, whenever you get a little raise or a little stipend, we appreciate it. And I could see them getting a raise, but $32,000 each, I think that's pitiful. I know you guys can't do anything about it, but Mayor, I think that is pitiful and shameful. A $32,000 raise when a lot of other people are not even working. Some people are looking for work. That's sad. It's really sad, and they did it right around the holiday time too. What a beautiful Christmas present. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else like to address the board? No? Anyone on Zoom? Okay. So on that note, Tuckahoe, have a good night, and we will see you on February 6th with bells on.